So today, okay, I am going to share with you how to get more shippers by making less phone calls. All right, so here's how it's going to work. Most freight brokers and freight agents start out their business by doing what's called cold outreach, particularly with the phone. So they're doing cold calling, right? They decide on their niche. They make a list of prospects, or they search Google, or they download some manufacturer database, or they get access to some leads, and they pick up the phone and they start smiling and dialing, and they make a lot of phone calls. And what you'll find is that the phone is a very effective way to get in touch with shippers, right? It's probably the most effective way to get in touch with shippers, but it doesn't work all the time. You know, you'll call a lead, for example, say it was an XYZ manufacturing company and they made widgets. You might call that company 10, 20, 30 times and never get anybody on the phone. You're leaving voicemails, or you're just trying to call back, or maybe you're getting filtered out by the gatekeeper, or whatever the case may be. You're having a hard time getting through to the prospect so that you can give them your presentation, you can start developing a relationship, and you can have an opportunity to get a client, right? This is the hardest part, is getting the people on the phone and getting their attention, okay? So most people do that via the phone, and it's a very effective way to do it, but it's not the only way, and it's not the best way to get more shippers. So here's my approach, and it's very simple. Rather than limiting yourself to just the phone, I want you to consider taking what I call a multi-channel approach. So listen in carefully, okay? A multi-channel approach. So what this means is, rather than just using the phone, we're going to leverage other channels like email, social media, face-to-face contact, and even direct mail. Okay, so I just gave you 4 more channels that we're going to talk a little bit about today in an effort to break through the noise, in an effort to start a dialogue with your prospect outside of just cold calling and smiling and dialing. Okay, so what this does is this creates a really interesting dynamic, because a lot of times if you can't get somebody on the phone, and it's very difficult, they don't pick up their phone, they always go to voicemail, or you're always getting screened out by a gatekeeper, these other channels are going to be very powerful for you to start a dialogue with your prospect. All right, so let's pick the first one. The first one is email. So the way you would do that, very similar to a cold call over the phone, you would do a cold email. Now, I don't have time to teach and train how to do a cold email today. We just don't have time. That would be an entire training on itself. But cold email is where you are going to do an outreach to your prospect via email in an effort to get their attention and to start a dialogue, very much like you did it over the phone. So, you know, a few tips there. Obviously, you want to personalize the email. You want to make sure it's very relevant and compelling. You want to keep it short, and you want to have some sort of call to action, right? So, I mean, those are just a few tips on how to do it via email. So now we can use the phone and we can do cold email. So now we've just added a whole nother channel and a whole nother opportunity to start a dialogue with our prospect. All right, so let's move on to social media. How do we leverage social media to start a dialogue, or to get more, conversations going, or to convert it into an appointment? Very simply, my 2 favorite forms of social media for getting shippers is LinkedIn and Twitter. Okay, so LinkedIn is my number 1, but it works the same way in both. So LinkedIn is the world's largest professional networking site, and many shippers are on there. You can just go on there, sign up for a free account. You can search for shipping manager, logistics manager, transportation manager, and you're going to get thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that meet that criteria. And you can obviously, wean it down and filter it down into a smaller group specific to your niche. And then at that point, you can find, connect, and engage with them as a way to start a dialogue. Now, for any of you that know my story, know that LinkedIn was a very big part of our success at my brokerage. We leveraged it to generate well over $20 million a year in annual recurring revenue for my company. And so it was a very powerful channel and strategy in conjunction with the phone and in conjunction with email. So we used all three of these channels very effectively. And that's what was a huge difference between our success as well as other companies that started at the same time, maybe even had more capitalization, but were unable to even break the $20 million revenue mark, where we were able to go on to over $80 million a year in sales. Okay, so that's LinkedIn. So using social media. So that's another. So now we have the phone, we've got email, and we have social media. So now we have three different channels that we can use to try to get our buyers' attention and to try to, capture their attention, engage them, and convert that into a conversation. All right, so that's the third channel. Now, number 4 is face-to-face. Now, this is something that may seem a little unusual because I'm more of a digital guy, and I know that face-to-face is a little old school, but here, perfect example. If your target market, if your niche, if you have a niche that's local to you, particularly within, let's call it 20 or 30 miles, maybe 50 miles, what you might want to consider is taking a face-to-face approach. Now, I have an old student of mine who's a friend of mine now. His name's Franklin Ndekwe. Some of you may have heard of him. I interviewed him here on Freight Broker Bootcamp Live months ago, and he talked about his story of how he was able to do over $25,000 in profit his second month in business. And most of his clients today come from actual face-to-face, going out and meeting with prospects face-to-face. So what he does is he'll cold call prospects. So face-to-face, the way that works is, sometimes you can go to the front door, sometimes you can go to the back door and just go to the shipping dock. But face-to-face can be very effective because a lot of service businesses have kind of abandoned that face-to-face approach. And so it can automatically be a differentiator. And a lot of times, if you're not able to get people on the phone, just hitting that shipping dock on the, in the back end of a business can do great things to start a dialogue with a shipping manager, particularly, if you're unique, compelling, interesting, and you have some value to provide. Okay. So now we've got phone, email, social media like LinkedIn, as well as face-to-face. Now, the last one that I'm going to share with you is probably something that's going to surprise you, but it's direct mail. And I don't mean direct mail in mass direct mail, like sending out postcards. That's not what I mean. I don't mean, buying 10,000 postcards and just blasting them out to different manufacturers or people in your niche. That may or may not work, but it's going to be a very low conversion rate. What I mean is very specific and intentional and very personalized mail. So for example, a handwritten note. So what you might do if you have prospects that you haven't been able to get through on the phone or email or any of these other channels, what you might want to do is consider sending them a handwritten note. Now, you can do a couple things. You can type that out, you can have it printed, and then you can sign it. It's not quite as personalized, and I don't like that as much as having a handwritten note. But if you're like me and you have horrible handwriting, okay, my handwriting is terrible. If you saw it, it's literally atrocious. My 12-year-old daughter's handwriting is 10 times better than mine, probably because I can type 80 words a minute. So writing to me doesn't really matter. But ultimately, some sort of a handwritten note mailed to your prospect can be very cost effective as a way to break through the noise and to get their attention and to start a dialogue. Okay. So that's a perfect example. If you don't like the handwritten part because your handwriting is bad, or you don't want to get into, printing all this and then mailing it, there's a service that I want to share with you. It's really cool. It's a great service. It's called handwritten.com, but it's HANDWRYTTEN. So what handwritten.com does is they actually will, they have a system and a technology that will actually mimic actual handwriting versus typing, and they will mail the actual notes out for you. So they'll send a personalized note out to a prospect. They do all the work for you. It's very cost effective. It includes the envelope, the creating the handwritten note, as well as postage and everything. Again, it's a great service that a lot of companies, a lot of salespeople are using to try to break through the noise and to get the attention of their buyers. And so that's another channel that you could use, is direct mail, or at least what I would consider sending them a handwritten note. All right. So there we go. In quick summary, here's what we got. we always have the phone. It's a very effective way to get through the noise and to, to connect and engage with our prospects. It's probably the number one way that you are going to see success. But don't forget about cold email, which is sending an email to your prospect. Don't forget about social media, which is LinkedIn and Twitter and other social platforms where they are spending time, if not on a daily, a weekly basis, where you may be able to get their attention. It worked very effectively for me. Also, don't forget about face-to-face. If they're local to your area, go visit them, drop by their dock, drop something off at the front desk, try to get their attention through that, and you'd be surprised how effective that can be. And last but not least, send them a handwritten note, either something that you write out yourself, drop in the mail, and then send out to them, or use a service like handwritten.com. That's HANDWRYTTEN, okay? So that's a great service for you to use also. So those are the 4 extra strategies beyond the phone that you can use to get more shippers by making less phone calls. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take a multi-channel approach to connecting and engaging with your buyer. That's my strategy, the multi-channel approach on how to get more shippers by making less phone calls. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure and you're new to the industry and you just want to get started, make sure you check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We offer a 60-day, 100% money back out. Freight Broker, we've got a gold membership, which is an annual membership. We've got a lifetime membership, which is our platinum membership. So check it out. And again, we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. No questions asked. You'll get your money back if you're not happy for any reason. It does happen from time to time, but it's pretty rare. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have an awesome day.